Hello, and welcome to 30 minutes of me talking about anything, which was, bizarrely enough, I put up a Patreon poll, because I've started doing this thing now where I want to get more varied content on the channel to try and vary it up from just, obviously, RimWorld and Crusader Kings, mainly because if I do that for the rest of my life, I'm going to have some problems when people stop being interested in RimWorld and Crusader Kings. So I'm trying to vary it up a little bit and find things that work and find things that stick. And I put up the poll yesterday, and like the third most upvoted choice was have me sit for 30 minutes and just talk about anything. So I'm taking that on as kind of a personal challenge, if nothing else, just to see if if I'm actually capable of doing something like that. So that's what we're doing today. Hello. I've only just woken up as well, so this isn't going to be very good. I actually haven't had breakfast yet, which is something I generally try and hammer that out before I really start content, because you don't want to be recording on like an empty stomach with a light head. That's the problem. When you're sitting here talking for, I do the videos, and what a lot of people don't realize is I generally record like an hour of content and then edit it right down and kind of take out the bad bits or the jokes that don't land or whatever. And if you're talking for an hour solid, you can get real lightheaded real quick if you've just rolled out of bed and you haven't had a drink or anything to eat yet. So that's me right now. The only problem is, right, okay, first salient point of this video, right? We do online shops because, well, A, it's a lockdown, so there's not really much else you can do here. But with the online shops, you generally get all this cool stuff in, and then you eat the good stuff first. And then when it gets to kind of this stage, which is the stage I'm at now, by the way, the bottom of my freezer is just like a collection of beige foods. So like a kind of half-eaten bag of chicken goujons or chicken nuggets or whatever. Some like potato croquettes. You've got some Yorkshire puddings in there, and it's just like an assorted selection of beige. One thing that really annoyed me is I bought a load of smoothie stuff, because I thought if I'm sitting at home all day, I need health-related goodness. So I've got like mango in there. It's like frozen, real cheap, man. Look, I'm not bougie here. This was like an Iceland, and those of you who live in the UK will know exactly what that means. This is an Iceland special. It was like a big bag of mango. It's like 500 grams of mango for £1, and I was like, you know what? This could be the worst mango in the world, but it's not going to matter if I'm going to smoothie it, right? I thought, get some of that, I'll get some strawberries and shit, and we'll just blitz that up and drink it. Moron, that is me, threw away the fucking blender, mainly because we hadn't used it in quite a while, and it got kind of a bit grimy, and I was like, we'll just chuck it, and then if I ever want to get a blender again, we'll just buy a new one in like what is it called? Cyber Monday, Black Friday, Central Saturday, I don't know what it's called. So I thought, hey, we'll throw that away. I'll buy a load of smoothie stuff, then I'll just buy a new one. Forgot to buy a new blender. So now I'm stuck with a load of frozen mango. So my freezer is just a selection of frozen fruits and beige, neither of which I'm particularly interested in for breakfast because I don't want to break my teeth. So now I'm in this weird conundrum where I'm like, I could go to the shop, but if I go to the shop, A, I'm risking dying because we're in a tier 2 area. I mean, everywhere right now is obviously locked down, but in the UK we have this just god-awful tier system that genuinely changes every week. So we're in a tier 2 area, which is high risk, quote unquote. We're actually the highest risk zone of our region of the UK in the deep southwest. So that's always great. So I'm trying to avoid going outside wherever possible, because if I can't talk, that means I can't do content, and also I might die. So now I'm in this weird conundrum where I'm like, look, I could eat some frozen fruit for breakfast, and it'll take me about an hour, which is obviously not recommended. Or I could order food, and I hate ordering food if it's just. I never order food if it's just for me. I can justify it if it's like for me and Elise, or like if we have some friends over, whatever. But I can't just order food for myself because that's horrible. But Elise is asleep right now, because of course she would be, because it's fucking 12:30 in the afternoon. So I'm sat here hungry, and I'm like, look, I'll be completely blunt with you here. Papa John's did email me about 10 minutes ago, and they're like, hey, we're doing 50% off pizzas. Now, I can't justify buying Papa John's normally. I never buy Papa John's, I never buy Domino's, I never buy any takeaway pizzas, because it's hideously expensive, and also, the brand Chicago Town in the UK does an incredible frozen pizza, which I'll be honest, is better than a lot of takeaway pizzas, and that's only like, it's like £2.50 when it's on sale, and that I can justify, okay? I cannot justify spending. Let me just take a look here. This isn't sponsored, because I'm actually going to slag them off, which should really show that. Right, this Papa John's pizza that I put in my basket, £24.99 British pounds. And just to put that into comparison here, for those of you in America, $24.99 to USD is $33. $34, $33.61 specifically. I believe it's free delivery. You'd fucking hope it's free delivery. I open the fucking door and they give me a kiss on the cheek and, you know, whatever else that I can't talk about because this is a PG video. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, it's 50% off. That takes it down to $12.49. But it's also one of their extra large, 15-inch, whatever. I could stretch that out for 4 meals, right? That becomes like £3 a meal. That's not bad for what is essentially a luxury, you know, a luxury takeaway good. Delivered to my front door, hot and cooked. And I can just eat that and get on with some videos. So I'm actually saving myself time as well, etc., etc. I can kind of justify that. Now, my flatmates in uni, they used to drive me fucking nuts with this because they would be like, oh, we can't go out. Oh, we're so poor. Oh, I haven't got any money left. And then every fucking night, they would order a Domino's pizza because they'd have these Cheeky Tuesdays or whatever they were called. Again, I wouldn't take part because I'm not paying £20 for a pizza. That's ridiculous. And they would do Cheeky Tuesdays where it was like, oh, you can get 2 pizzas for the same price as 1.5 pizzas. And of course, everybody think, oh, that's a great deal, despite the fact that you don't need 1.5 pizzas, you fool. So they would order that shit. And then complain about how they were poor because they were spending like £15 on one meal. I actually want to get... I was kind of thinking about doing this as a podcast thing. I still want to do a podcast. I've been threatening to do it for a while, but I have a load of different plans for what I want to do. Sometimes I just want to do like hey, let's sit and chat for a 2-hour podcast, just like friendly banter. You get me and Elise and some friends on or whatever, and just literally just sit and talk. That would be quite fun. But then also I wanted to do like a kind of podcast, YouTube behind the scenes thing. I've actually spoken to a few of the YouTubers. There's only a couple of YouTubers kind of closed Discord groups with a few people, and I've spoken to some people in there, and they are up for coming on a podcast where it's like behind the scenes YouTube, where we kind of lift the veil a little bit and talk about what actually happens. But the problem with that is I think that's only really relevant to either A, fans of me, or B, YouTubers, and that's quite a small audience that you're putting that out there for. Not that I would still do it just for the fun of it, realistically. But there's also quite a lot of preparation with that second one because I'd have to go and get like a load of stats and graphs and shit. Anyway, going back to my original point, I really wanted to do just like a chatting podcast and get one of my flatmates from uni on there. Because we have some real good stories that I don't think I've ever told, and that'd be quite an interesting experience. He's also pretty funny, the guy I'm talking about, and I think we have a good chemistry and we'd be able to put out some good content, but it's finding the time to do it realistically. Man, there'd be some really good stories in that. We almost got kicked out of... So there was one night... I'm not going to go into too much detail in case I actually commit to this idea. So there was one night where we got kicked out of a bar and almost out of uni simultaneously. I say out of uni, out of our uni hall simultaneously. Both of which incidents involve Limp Bizkit, and that's all I can say, rather than ruining the entire story. But that would be quite fun to do some content like that. To be honest, me and Elise have tried doing stuff like that before, but the problem with it is like, you know, we tried this in our old house. The problem with our old house was we had like this tiny little bedroom where there wasn't room for like a PC or a laptop or a desk or anything. We literally just had like a mattress on the floor. There wasn't even room for a bed in that bedroom. We literally slept on a mattress on the floor for like months on end. Then the slightly larger quote-unquote bedroom, even then it was still like basically just a slightly larger single bedroom, is where we had the 2 desks for our PCs. Obviously, Elise needs to do uni work and I need to do YouTube stuff. But if we tried recording in that, because the room was so small, when I spoke, her microphone would pick me up, and when she spoke, her microphone, I would pick her voice up, etc. So it made the podcast like really bad to listen to. And any of you who've ever watched any of the kind of Elise and Sam channel content, like the Hatful boyfriend stuff, the way we got around that was mixing my voice into the left ear and her voice into the right ear, but then it sounded like ethereal. It was like having, you know, like the cartoon devil and angel on each shoulder. I can be your angel or your devil. I wasn't really sure who would be who there. I think I could be both. Anyway, it just didn't work. You know, that shit doesn't work. You have to have like a proper decent isolated, if nothing else, set up to do that with 2 people in the same room. Best part now is I have my own office in this house. And problem is the rent is far more than I'm ever willing to pay, and the council tax is far more than I am ever willing to pay. So this is really a stopgap, this house. But I do have my own office, which is quite nice. But the bonus to that is at least in the other room, could, we could do a podcast together and maybe get someone else on as well. It's still, I just can't think of a good idea for it. Like, we've brainstormed a lot of stuff. We even spoke with some friends months and months and months ago about doing something, and we had some good ideas for segments and whatnot, but I've just never been able to find time to commit to it fully. And it's still something I really, really want to do. And I know I've talked about this before. I'm pretty sure I talked about this in, like, the last time I just sat in front of a microphone and spoke for ages. I did a radio show for years, and that was kind of my foot in the door into broadcasting, quote unquote, but like eventually YouTube as well. I did radio, then I did Twitch, then I did YouTube, in that order. But with the radio stuff, that was always like really, really fun. I actually did 2 different radio shows, quote unquote, in my hometown. Basically, it was like a local radio. I can't give the name of it just in case there are any archives out there, and I think it's probably really, really bad. I don't think there will be, because I think when we left, they had to delete it all, like all the archives, because obviously, like data protection and crap like that. But that was something we would do as kind of like every Wednesday afternoon. What was it, like Wednesday afternoon, 3 till 7? I don't remember. It was me and this other guy for the first show, and then I did another show where it was 3 of us, me and a couple of other people. And that's what got me into twitching. But I do kind of miss that element of it, of just sitting there. I don't have to worry about what's going on in the screen. I don't have to focus on the production side of things. I can just sit, and it can be this conscious stream of thought style thing. So that would be quite a lot of fun to try and do that. And again, there's kind of comedy element to it as well. God, I miss being able to do that. Like in videos, I can do it occasionally, but if the gameplay is like RimWorld, for example, one wrong mistake in that game and you die a horrible death, and then people get very angry at me. At which point I either have to reload and edit it out, which I don't do very often, not unless it's like severe bullshit. Like, for example, Yayo's Meteor mod. I remember when we were doing that series, a meteor literally landed on my base and killed like the 3 main characters. I was like, I can't put this in a video because this kills the series. People, when characters die, stop watching. We saw it with Top Bog, and I've learned from experience that is just the case. So I'm not I'm not having Yayo's Meteor essentially directly impact my income like that. So that was just a case of reloading. But yeah, you've got to be very, very careful. And I think that's kind of in some ways why Zomboid didn't work as well, is because the amount of focus you have to have on the actual gameplay, like literally going into a room unprepared, can be the difference between life and death in that. So I'm not leaving that up to chance. That's why I can't really commit to doing the full-blown commentary, YouTube comedy spiel over the top. And I think that's why a lot of people, especially like YouTube gamers, have really committed to the edited side of things. You either have to have one or two things, and that's either really good commentary or hyper-intense editing and put out like 1 video a week. And I'll be honest, I don't really like either format, because with RimWorld, there's a lot of downtime. I mean, same with CK2, same with every game. There's going to be times where you're not doing a huge amount of stuff. Even in action games, there's times where you might just be waiting around, or cutscenes and yada, yada, yada. You need some editing to keep things interesting and fresh, but you also can't do a huge amount of editing and have, like, consistent commentary, because I might need to edit a bit out of gameplay, but I'm still talking about stuff. And I'm actually having that problem a lot in Oblivion, where I'm like going on this big tangent, going on this big point that I'll then refer to later in the video. That's one thing I realized in today's video that I uploaded. I referred to something later in the video that I ended up editing out earlier on. I'd already uploaded the video at that point, so I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll just leave it. But that's a problem that is pretty prominent in games like that, and I think it's even worse in like RimWorld and Crusader Kings, because you're kind of setting up plays so long in advance of that it can be pretty tricky to ensure that you're keeping all those building blocks in place for if you make a point later on. So I'm trying to find that line. I'm still trying to find that line, and I have been for years, of like edited content that's also funny, that also keeps it consistent and coherent. You don't want to be editing around and having like loads of... This is a trap I kind of fell into for a little bit, of kind of doing a sentence and then going silent for a while, and then doing another, like a poignant sentence or setting up a joke or whatever, and then constantly cutting between like these completely irrelevant points, because especially in something like Crusader Kings, especially, maybe not so much in RimWorld, but you can miss a lot of development just in like a small amount of time there. Like an event can fire, and then you get a follow-up event during a time when I'm actually talking without the setup beforehand. So That's a bit of a pain in the ass. My God, the hunger is kicking in now, huh? I really am just, at this point, essentially waiting for Elise to wake up and message me back so I can see if we can, so I can see if I can convince her to get this Papa John's with me. But look, like I said, I'm all right with that because it's $2.50 that I can per meal if I stretch it over 4 meals, and we're talking a big fuck off pizza. This thing's probably like 8,000 calories. You can stretch it out over 3 days and probably be fine. Anyway, here's a problem I've got. Here's a problem I've got, right? So recently, Rockstar just released Red Dead Online as a separate game to Red Dead Redemption. So if you're not interested in the story, you can just get the online. The best part was it was like £4, which is really, really good. Because even if you just want to get on a horse and ride around and do stupid shit, £4 is good value for that. Just to cowboy it up, do some rootin' tootin' cowboy exploring with your good friends, which is exactly why I'm getting that. The problem is, I'm literally downloading it right now on Steam, 111.7 gigabytes. What are you talking about? What world are we living in where it's acceptable for a game to be 111.7 gigabytes for a fucking online segment only? This doesn't even include the bloody campaign, which I assumed would have been the bulk of it. You know, you generally assume with Rockstar games that the single player is the main draw, especially because what was their first multiplayer game? I guess it would have been like the original Red Dead was online, right? With like Undead Nightmare. Did GTA 4 have online? I think it did, but it was like death matches and shit. But now they've kind of transitioned into this full online thing, which is horrible, which is obviously explains why we haven't had a Grand Theft Auto game in, like 6 years now? Holy shit. Problem with that is, of course, they keep updating online because it keeps selling shark cards or cowboy dollars or whatever it is they sell for Red Dead Online, and then as a result, your game gets more and more bloated. Oh, I'm going to take a break from GTA for 2 months. Boom, they've dropped 50 gigs worth of frigging updates in that meantime. So, because I edit videos on this PC, I've got some pretty fast hard drives because recording raw footage is like generally for like one Rimworld video, the raw footage can be like 20, 30 gigabytes. And if I'm recording and writing and moving and editing and whatever, 30 gigabytes of video footage 3 times a day, every day, I need fast hard drives. So I've got only M.2 drives on my PC, no SATA kind of traditional big old, the big old disk hard drives. I don't get too technical. And even like regular SSDs, the kind of rectangular ones, those are still slow as shit compared to M.2 drives. So I've only got M.2 drives. The problem with M.2 drives is big capacity ones are like super expensive. Like a 2 gig M.2, the cheapest I found on Amazon is £233, which is a little rich for my blood. The problem is, if I want to play video game where people don't fucking compress anything down anymore, Red Dead Online is 120 freaking gigabytes. I've got to fill up essentially an entire hard drive just for that. And it's not, I'm constantly uninstalling and reinstalling games, and it's a massive pain in the ass. So that's my complaint right now. I got 23 gigabytes free on my PC. If I record one video, that's it. That's full up. So I'm a little bit pissed about that. But I'm looking forward to cowboy shooting. I was actually thinking of doing a playthrough of Red Dead Redemption 2 story on like Twitch and getting a cowboy hat and a bandana. And, playing as the man that shoots the gun. I don't know his name in Red Dead 2. Well, obviously, I haven't played it. But I thought that would be kind of fun. I want to do more Twitch stuff. That's another thing that I've been wanting to do recently, but just literally do not have any time at all for. I mean, there's other reasons for that. Obviously, A, it's December, it's Christmas. B, it's December, it's tax season, and my accountant has retired. So I've now got to find a new accountant in like a few days. I'm actually kind of tempted to do it myself because my taxes are fairly straightforward because I keep all my books myself. All I've really got to do is just say, hey, I earned this much, and then they give me a big old bill and say, here you are. Actually, it shouldn't be that bad because when you're self-employed, you do get like, I'm not going to say tax breaks, but they charge you less tax because you're fucking self-employed. And as you should, I sit in my home. I don't use the roads. I don't call the fire brigade or take public transport. You should pay less tax because I'm just sitting in my own house alone and afraid. So that's something I've got to deal with. But anyway, that's why I've got way less free time recently. And that's something that definitely needs, it's something I want to do, but I just can't. You've got to commit so much time to it, Like, I've got a pop-up green screen now, which is quite fun. I had that for a while. Oh, there's a good story behind that, too. So I bought this pop-up green screen. It's like an Elgato pop-up green screen. It was quite expensive for a green screen, but it's pop-up. And like I said, because this house is a permanent temporary residence, i.e. we're living here permanently, but the second that a new house becomes available, I'm out because this house is full of fucking mice and was an absolute dump when we first moved in and took literally like 3 months to make it nice. And now that we've made it nice, it's too expensive to live here for long term, so I want to get out as soon as possible. Anyway, bought a pop-up green screen because that way it's way smaller and takes up way less room and is much easier to transport when we do end up moving. Problem is, it's obviously super expensive because it's Elgato and it's like, it's a bit more bespoke. It's not just a bit of green fabric that you're hanging up. The best part was Amazon delivered it. And then I got a notification 2 days later saying, your parcel's running late. And I was like, my parcel's not running late. Is there any way I can confirm I've received this parcel? Couldn't find anything on the Amazon website. To my credit, I genuinely did try and find, some way of saying, hey, I've received this parcel, but there isn't any way to do it because the customer service on Amazon is literally just this automated robot. Unless there's like a genuine problem with like something not being delivered, then they'll put you through to customer service. But obviously there isn't an option for, hey, my item is being delivered, because people don't generally need to complain about that. Another week goes by and they're like, we're processing your refund for this Elgato green screen, which is actually kind of expensive. And I was like, oh, hey, I'm not going to complain about that because it's expensive and I've used it once. And I did genuinely try and say, hey, Amazon, you've done a bit of a fucky-wucky here, brother, Jeff Bezos. But then it also occurred to me, hang on a minute, Jeff Bezos has more money than any human being could ever. He could literally spend £1 million a day until the day he dies and not put a dent in his wealth. I don't think £100 on a green screen is going to hurt that man. So, from a moral perspective, I was okay with it. Even though I did try and admit to, I was going to say stealing a green screen, but I didn't. I fucking paid for it, and it turned up, and then they thought it didn't turn up. The delivery company's the one at fault here, not me. They've done that twice, actually. What was it they did it with before? The other one was, like, really insignificant. It was, like, a bottle of thermal paste or some garbage. No, it wasn't. It was a microphone cable. That was it. I bought a microphone cable. The cable was too small, so I bought another microphone cable. But the first microphone cable, they didn't think they delivered, so I got that refunded. But I also bought another longer microphone cable anyway, so everybody kind of lost out in that situation, didn't they? Is this a video you wanted? Is this it? When you said 30 minutes of me sitting around and talking about anything, was this really what you anticipate? I didn't have a plan for this. I literally saw the poll and I was like, sure, I'm just going to hit the record button and see what comes out. And again, look, I haven't eaten yet. We've been over this like 3 times now. You can't blame me if this is terrible content. You asked for it. There wasn't any stipulation. I didn't sign a frigging contract that say, hey, you've got to talk for 30 minutes and it's got to be quality content. That was never going to happen. Okay. I don't have time for that. I've still got to record. To be honest, I normally wake up and the first thing I normally record every day is Oblivion, because the video goes live at 9 a.m. So basically anytime after kind of 9, 10 a.m., they kind of keep an eye out for comments that are coming in case people have some really poignant things to say. They don't. At which point then I will, record an Oblivion. I can't really record Rimworld, even though you might remember Rimworld first came out at like 8 p.m. Then I pushed it back to 4 p.m. for Crusader Kings. It was CK2 at the time, and then 6 p.m. for Rimworld. Then Rimworld became the popular series, so I swapped them over, and I did Rimworld at 4 p.m. and Crusader Kings at 6 p.m. with any other bonus content going out at 8 p.m. And now it's like I still can't record Rimworld until like 5 p.m. minimum, realistically, especially now where I'm waiting for votes from the comment section about what exactly we're doing in the series. So I've got to be like today, for example, my sleep schedule's pretty good. I woke up at like 10 a.m. Day before that, I woke up at 8 a.m. And that's the problem. Like, you might think, oh, waking up at 8 a.m., that's a normal time. Not when you have to go to work at 6 p.m., it's not. Because nobody wants to be awake for, like, 10 hours and then have to work for another 8 hours. That's horrible. Because then by the time you actually get around to finally finishing everything, you've been awake for the best part of 20 hours. And it's shit. My ideal time to wake up genuinely is, like, midday. Well, even that's a little bit early. Like 1 p.m. is pretty good, because then I can be awake, get Oblivion done. That only takes me, because I basically just sit there and obviously hit record. The editing on Oblivion's really light as well. That takes me maybe a couple of hours. Even that would take me up to 3 p.m. Even then I've got like a couple of hours to kill before I can record Rimworld anyway. So it's a really bad schedule for me, but you have to upload at American times if you want to survive on YouTube, because, quite literally like 50% of my viewer base is American. And then I get a lot of people from Germany. Obviously, UK makes up. I think UK makes up about 25%. US is slightly more. It's like 60%. And then everything else is kind of various European. Scandinavia is quite a big one. Sweden, especially. Netherlands is pretty big. Germany's pretty big. And that's really it for my viewer base. Oh, Canada, obviously. Canada's up there as well. Canada's like 10%. So, hey, shout out to Canada. Weirdly enough, people who speak English watch my videos. Bizarre, that. But working on an American time frame is a real pain in the ass. Because I've got this choice of, like, I can get up at, like, 4 p.m., which would be ideal, because then I've got an hour to get up, get breakfast, shower, whatever, sit down and record at, like, 5, 6 for RimWorld, and that works out pretty well. But then if I do that, all the shops shut right now at, like, basically only a few shops are open anyway, everything shuts at, like, 6 p.m. It also gets dark here at genuinely, like, 4:30. You don't want to be waking up and then get 30 minutes of fucking daylight. That's depressing as all. I'm not going to live in the fucking Arctic. Well, no, the Arctic would be really bright. Well, obviously during summer. I didn't really think that through, did I? Anyway, you get my meaning. Nobody wants to be awake and then immediately be dark and then sleeping while it... Because I'm also like a really light sleeper too. If there's even so much like a thimble of light in the bedroom, that's it. I'm screwed. And like if anything, if there's any noise, like a minor noise, like I genuinely heard a mouse. A mouse woke me up the other day. It was scratching. To be fair, it was scratching, which is a bit of a pain in the ass, like in the walls. Because I'm almost certain these mice are coming in from the neighbor's house next door, because there's genuinely like 100 people packed into that house. There's like aerials poking out of the basement. It's not. it's a mess. Anyway, I'm almost certain all the mice are coming in through their walls, like over the top, because I think it's all one big loft, like it's a terraced house. We're in the middle, and then I'm pretty sure the mice are going above. You know, like a loft. What do you call it in America? Like an attic? I don't really know. But the top part of the house that's below the roof that some people turn into rooms, I don't know what's up there. I've never been up there. It's at the end of the day, it's not really my house, is it? I'm certain I will put money on that being where the mice are coming from. Anyway, I hear them in the walls. They wake me up. There's even so much... Like, Elise's PC, I tweeted about this the other day. Fucking motherboard on that PC lights up even when the PC's turned off, and I don't know why. It's obviously... just a bad design, to be honest. But that lights up like a fucking rainbow. So if that was on the other night and she had to leave it on because she was like doing an essay and just put it in sleep mode so that she could get up like really quickly and keep working on it. And I thought, okay, that's fine. Problem with that is I didn't sleep. I think I slept for like 2 hours that night, so I was absolutely killed the night after. I've always been a bad sleeper though. I think even since I was a kid, like I used to get night terrors as a kid. I don't remember this, but my mum told me about this. I used to walk downstairs at night and just kind of stand in the hallway, which for my parents must have been horrific. I'd like to point out. You wake up in the night and you go downstairs and it looks like fucking Blair Witch, me stood there in a corner. I used to like try and go outside apparently. Try and open the door and go outside at night. That's like fucking... I don't remember any of this. I have very, very vague memories of like rooms being distorted and stuff, probably because I'm like half awake, but that's genuinely it. That must have been like super scary for my parents. If I had a kid, not that I plan on ever having that. If I had a kid and they did that, I'll be honest, let them go. Unlock the door, show them out. You can leave now, thank you. Especially because I don't sleep very well anyway, so the last thing I need is a Blair Witch child stood in the corner of my house staring at a wall. I used to have pretty bad insomnia, actually. When I was like in my late teens, and when I say that, I don't mean like this was medically diagnosed. You know, like a lot of people like, oh my god, I've got insomnia because they're awake at 2 a.m. on fucking Facebook with a big old blue light blasting in their eyes. But I used to literally lie there in bed for... This was like in the final year of school. I used to lie in bed from like midnight till 6 a.m. trying to sleep. I genuinely would just lie there with my eyes closed every night for hours and hours and hours on end. And I just wouldn't fall asleep. And then the second I get to school, it'd be like, you know, or at that point, it's what we call sixth form here. I guess college for America, but it took place in a high school, in like a separate building, but you go to the same classrooms and everything. But like, I was from a town of like 500 people, okay? We didn't have an actual college where I came from. But yeah, I'd like actually get to school and I would just be fucking just dead, like every day. And it would drive me a little bit mad. I think it would drive anyone a little bit mad. But now I can sleep fine. Like I can get into bed and sleep within like 30 minutes of head hitting the pillow, which I guess isn't fantastic. I've always been a little jealous of people who are like, oh, get into bed and I fall asleep straight away. No, you're an actual insane person. You're a lizard wearing a human skin if you can do that. Now I can sleep fine. It's just if there's a tiniest little noise, I'm just fucking wide awake. I'm like, what? You know, there's like flight and fight. I'm like full-on fight when I wake up. I'm just like, boom, bolt upright if I hear the slightest movement in the house. And I think that's probably a problem with being in rented accommodation, because I know someone who, I don't have like, like anxiety over this or anything, but it is something worth bearing in mind. One of my friends lived in rented accommodation. The previous tenants kept a key, and that's true of any rented accommodation, by the way. You have to turn the key back in, but there's literally fucking nothing at all to stop you going into town, getting a key cup, keeping it, waiting for the new tenants to live there, and then just going in. There's nothing to stop that at all. And I knew a guy who was at uni, and he had that exact problem. They rented this accommodation from this renting company, like this really above board, like highly rated renting company, really professional. And they all went home for Christmas because it was uni, and they came back and all their shit had gone because one of the old tenants had kept a key. There was no evidence of break-in or anything, so it was either A, the landlord, B, the lettings agency, or C, somebody who had a copy of the key that was like an old tenant. So obviously, I mean, yeah, sure, it could have been the landlord. Let's be honest, it probably wasn't. But they literally went in and their house was fucking emptied. So that was... Oh my god, that's another good story. Man, I need to get some of my old uni flatmates on this podcast at some point, because holy shit. We once came home from uni from like a night out, and everybody just like went to bed immediately because it was like 4 a.m. and we'd just come home from the student union club, and we woke up. This is like the most bizarre story. We woke up and we went into our living room, and there was just a sailor on our sofa, like an actual sailor, a Navy guy in his Navy uniform, just on the sofa. And it was like, hi. And we were like, who are you? And he's like, oh, so-and-so let me in. We didn't recognize this person's name. So we have a feeling that when we came home, we left the door. This was in uni accommodation. Which makes it even more bizarre, because to get into our uni accommodation, you had like a key card that you would key card the front door open. Then you go up to your floor. We were on like the 3rd floor as well. Use the key card to get into a hallway, which then you had another key card for to get into your little kind of flat, quote unquote. And then you needed a key to get into your bedroom as well. So it was like really difficult to get into this fucking place. And this guy somehow convinced someone to, I don't know whether someone brought him home or whether he followed some people in. But he got through the key. Firstly, he went up to the it was kind of a fenced area, but it wasn't exactly closed in. It was just like a footpath through some barriers. So he came through these barriers. He went up to the door, got someone to fob him in through the door. He went up 2 flights of stairs, specifically to our uni, unless he went, like, we assumed that he'd just gone door to door, trying every door until he could get in somewhere. Got into our flat through a second key fob, and then just decided to sleep on our sofa, which was very bizarre. It wasn't even me that found him. It was like one of my housemates, and she was a little bit shit up by it, because she just walks into like our living room and there's just this dude on the sofa. That was fucking so weird. That was strange. She literally knocked on my door. I was asleep at the time. She knocked on my door and she was like, hey, Sam, there's a sailor in our living room. And I was like, there's a fucking what? Sorry. So we basically had to kind of politely tell him to fuck off. But we think they must have left the door open. Either somebody left the door open or somebody let him in intentionally. Which, to be honest, my flatmate, who I want to try and get on here, he could have done it as a laugh. He genuinely could have, like, if he was drunk as well, because he is like a prolifically bad drunk. If this guy had knocked on the door and said, hey mate, can I sleep on your sofa? I guarantee you for a fact he'd have been like, yeah, all right. So that's another. Oh God, I got so many stories from uni I've got to share. God, that's why I've got to get this guy on here. I think it could be really funny. We've got some real tragic tales. Holy shit. So yeah, that'll be something maybe for the future that I'll try and share with you guys, because that's those are really fun, and they don't deserve to just remain in my brain. So I'll see. I should be seeing them at some point anyway, because I've got them just this horrendous Christmas gift that I'll make sure I get a photo of at some stage as well. Yeah, that's my plan then. Yeah, I guess like I said, it would be fun to do like a structured podcast, like something with the other YouTubers and talk about YouTube behind the scenes. But it'd be a lot more fun. I think it'd be a lot more lighthearted and like a bit more just kind of entertainment, like a bit more, you know, just kind of fun, friendly content if it's just me and some people chatting, you know? Get some of the Discord moderators on it. Oh, Jesus, why have I said that? No, I don't think I want that. Oh, God. Could you imagine the chaos? I don't know. We'll see how it goes here. Yeah, it's probably 30 minutes at that point, right? I can go get some breakfast. I'm literally just going to go and wake Elise up and be like, hey, what fucking pizza do you want? I'm going to make her get this pizza because I can't justify ordering this pizza just for myself. Even if it is only like £10 now, that's still more than I want to justify spending money on. So I'm going to go wake her up and force her to order a pizza, even though she's lactose intolerant. But, you know, that's a hell of a commitment, huh? Thank you for listening. If you did listen this far, yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think about podcast. Any feedback to anything I bought up. I don't really remember what I talked about this entire 30+ minute segment. If you got any feedback on any of it, leave it in the comments, and I'll be sure to go and have a conversation. I will try and respond to most, if not all, the comments, as long as it's not just hello or Lamau or something like that. If there's an actual question, I'll keep an eye on it, and we'll have a conversation in the comment section too. That'll be nice. Thanks. Goodbye.